Peace, family. What's going on? It's your boy Biggs back. This is going to be part 2 of my analysis of the Tyree Nichols body cam footage that was released. I did a video yesterday, tried to keep it short. I'm going to do the same today as far as trying to keep it short, but this one may go a little bit longer. As I said yesterday, really I just kind of touched on a couple of points. Only one from the actual body cam footage. The other two, I spoke about Tyree's mom and what she's using as a coping mechanism, and then I spoke about an interaction that I had with somebody online. So today, the goal is to discuss more about what actually happened as far as the body cam footage. All right, so just to go through step by step, from what I understand, this was a regular traffic stop. I'm not sure as what the reason for the stop was, but at this point, that's actually, at least in my opinion, that's irrelevant, right? So they stopped Tyree, and from where the body cam footage picks up, they're being super aggressive with him, telling him to get his ass out of the car, yelling, cursing, screaming, regular police tactics, right? Then finally they actually get him out of the car. He's complying with them. He is not resisting, but at the same time, what you have to understand is when you are in fear, which most of us are in fear when it comes to police, and especially when it's a bunch of them and it's dark and they're yelling and screaming and cursing at you, it becomes a little difficult to follow the instructions that are being yelled at you, because you're human and you got to deal with the adrenaline dump that you're getting, which is usually fight or flight, right? So the officers end up wrestling him to the ground, and at this point they're macing him and they're threatening him with the taser, right? After a while, fight or flight really takes over, and he's able to kind of wiggle free and he takes off, right? At this point, well, we know what happened, but at this point, the cops ran after him for a little bit, and then they radioed in for backup. Shortly after that, he was found somewhere else close to the area where he was running from by a bunch of other cops. Okay, so after the other cops do catch him and detain him, you see the cops from the first interaction, they run up on the scene and immediately just start pounding this guy out. Like, I mean, it's crazy how they do it. Like yesterday, I referenced how gangbangers do their initiation, or how if somebody is getting jumped in a hood, like this is how it looks. That is exactly what it was. They were already on him. I want to say it was 3 cops that were on him, and you see another cop literally just run up and start wailing on him, right? Again, they're threatening him, they're cursing at him, usual bully behavior, right? Finally, they get him in cuffs and stand him up. At that point, and this is what really kind of messed with me, at that point you see a cop that you saw before. This is one of the cops from the first interaction. When one of the cops in that first interaction, when he sprayed the mace, this particular cop caught it, right? So you see him getting, water poured in his eyes before the second encounter. So he runs up and immediately just starts banging on him, right? This is on camera, mind you, right? Hits him a couple times. After that, you see him back on the floor, regular police action, you know what I mean? They get you on the floor. Even though he was cuffed, they got his, their knees in his back. Obviously, not for a super extended period of time, but then they sit him up and got him leaning on a car, sitting in the street. And at this point, well, this is when they start hatching their story and getting their story together, which is wild behavior. So now, just like a gang, right, waiting for the police to come, they start getting their story together, right? And you hear the one cop, the same cop that was throwing those haymakers, you hear him start to give the narrative as to what happened. You hear him say, we pulled him over, it was a regular stop. He started getting crazy. Then he grabbed for one of the other officers' guns, and it was on from there. You also hear this same cop bragging about the amount of force that he was using punching this man who was in cuffs, and saying that he was just eating them. So he had to be on some sort of drugs. This was their assumption, because he didn't just drop when his cop hit him. Now, it could have been because the cop hit like a little kid, or it could have been because of the adrenaline dump, which is what I believe to be the case. The adrenaline dump that this man was receiving was not going to allow him to drop, right? He is in fear for his life. He is in custody, so he can't really run, right? But the adrenaline is keeping him standing, which obviously makes this other cop upset, so he keeps hitting him, right? So anyway, the cops is bragging to his boys about the punches that he threw, and also getting a story together saying that the reason that they started to beat Tyree up was because he grabbed for a gun. Now, if you saw the video, you know that didn't happen. If you didn't see the video, trust me when I tell you, at no point did that occur at all. He did not grab for any of their guns, right? But this falls in line with the police story, the usual story, right? Because what do they always say? I feared for my life. Well, why did you fear for your life? Because he grabbed for so-and-so's gun. This is usually the excuse that they use when they shoot somebody, but since this man died, they figured they would, kind of use that as well. But at this point, he's not dead. He's up, he's breathing, he's conscious. So their frame of mind, I'm not too sure of, but because of the way the world is right now, especially in this country, they decided that they wanted to get their story together. And the best story, the best sounding story, was that this black man who was on drugs grabbed for a police officer's gun, so they had to do what they had to do. Now, how they would justify ass whipping, especially the way that they did it, as opposed to shooting, who knows? But nobody accused these guys of being smart. This is just what it is. Okay, understand. I've done my best to explain what happened as I saw it, and I'm gonna be honest with you. It is definitely not an unbiased opinion, right? Because this man is dead. And furthermore, before I even saw the body cam footage, I heard his mother refer to his death as an assignment. So that put me in a space mentally where I'm like, I don't have the ability to be impartial, right? And again, I want to state, for anybody that is new to my videos, I'm not one of those dudes that's like, F the police and they deserve whatever they get, right? If it was a situation where, let's say Tyree did have a gun and Tyree pulled out this gun and, aimed it at one of the officers and he ended up getting shot, guess what? I would say that Tyree deserved to get shot. Unfortunate, but he committed the act that could be considered a threat, right? He drew his gun. But in this situation, that's not the case. And we already know how the police deal with things, right? So I wanted to put that out there just because I know that there are people on the internet that love to troll and you want to try to come at me on some craziness. And I just wanted to kind of cut that off at the knees before anybody had the opportunity to say it. I'm not one of those dudes that feel like whatever happens to a cop, they deserve. If it's justified, it's justified. At the end of the day, they are a gang, but individually they are humans, right? And I'm human, so I have to kind of run with that frame of thought. So keep that in mind as you watch this video and any other video that I do that deals with police brutality or calling for police accountability or anything like that. Please know and understand that I am really not one of those dudes that just think anything that happens to a cop is okay. All right. So now I got questions, right? about this case and just about the way that the police work in this country, right? As I was watching a press conference with Ben Crump, who is the attorney for the Nichols family, he said something that I literally thought well before I heard him say it. I was thinking, well, this is kind of quick. They, like, the Memphis commissioner, police commissioner, handled this like super quick. These dudes were fired and have been charged and all of that, and I find out that it hasn't even been 20 whole days, which is unprecedented, right? So that led me to start thinking about every other situation where there's been police brutality involved, there's been a video or witnesses involved, and how long that took. And if my memory serves correct, it's usually like 6 months to a year before we hear anything or see any video. So the question in my mind becomes, well, first of all, I want to commend the commissioner for handling their business so quickly, but I can't help but ask, did they handle this so swiftly because the 5 cops that were implicated were black, as well as the victim? Would this have gone as quickly if it were 5 white cops, or 3 black cops and 2 white cops, or 3 white cops and 2 black cops? These are the questions that form in my mind, because historically speaking, this is not the way that these things play out, right? So for me, I'm really questioning the sincerity, first of all, of the commissioner and the people around the commissioner who made this decision. I'm really questioning what their true motivation was. Was it to have justice come as swiftly as possible? Because if that's the case, I'm all for that. I am all for it. My thing is, moving forward, and this is something that Ben Crump said, we now have a new status quo. We now know and understand that, especially in a situation where it's police brutality and there's video involved, there is no reason that we should be waiting months and months and months, sometimes a year, in order for justice, the wheels of justice, to start rolling, right? This case right here has, in my opinion, and in Ben Crump's opinion, has set a brand new precedence for PD all over the country. And my thing at this point is, we, the people, not just black people, we, the people, need to make sure that anytime this kind of thing happens, it is handled as swiftly as this time. Because we now know that no matter what BS they hand us about bureaucracy and procedure and protocol, all of that just went out of the window. And if it's not just because they're black, then that means that they've been lying to us all of this time, which we can deal with in another situation, right? But they've either been lying to us all this time about the way that these investigations work, or they move so swiftly because the cops are black and it was easy to just dismiss them, right? Now, in addition to that, I know most of you probably know this, but the police that stopped Tyree were part of a special unit, right? So this also, by the way, is one of the reasons that I keep referring to them as gangs and gangbangers, right? Especially in this situation, because these cops were part of a special force called Scorpion, right? And I don't really know, it's an acronym. I'm not really sure what all of the letters stand for, but we do all know what scorpions do. They sting and they're poisonous. So the fact that they were modeling themselves after this insect, right? And these are the kinds of actions that they commit, well, that in and of itself at least bears some conversation, right? In addition to that, we have to know and understand or acknowledge the fact that Tyree was not the first, he was not the second, he wasn't even a third person to try that had a negative interaction with this gang, right? There was a older black man, I believe in his 60s, that had interaction with them, and they got physical with him. He was able to present pictures of his injuries. Nothing was done. I believe there was another young black man who had the same interaction, who went to the police precinct after the interaction and asked for an investigation to be done. Nobody got in contact with him. So this is not their first rodeo, right? They've been doing this kind of thing for a minute, and they've been getting away with it up until now. We need to take that into account as well. Just to sum everything up, I watched the video so that you didn't have to. The best description that I could give is that if you've ever seen somebody get jumped in the street or in school or anything like that, where it's a bunch of yelling and cursing and punching and kicking, this is exactly what these guys did to Tyree, right? Now, fortunately, at least, I mean, I don't even know if that's the right term I should be using, but the video, you see him alive, right? You don't see a lifeless body. So as far as the level of trauma, while this is still extremely traumatic, Tyree lived for 3 more days in probably excruciating pain, but they didn't beat him to death right there on the spot. Either way, like it's a this is wild behavior, for real. I'm gonna close out by saying I'm not sure what the answers are, right? I've never claimed to be the guy who can fix this, right? I just know that we have to figure something out to fix it. And in my opinion, Memphis PD has kind of given us a blueprint, right? Now we know for certain that these kinds of things can be handled swiftly. So the next time that this happens, because unfortunately it's gonna be a next time, right? Might not be 5 black cops, might not be 5 cops, but something similar to this will happen again. We have to hold all police departments to the same standard moving forward. These cops should all get life. One thing I didn't touch on because I personally want to do some more research, but the ambulance that arrived on scene, at least the footage that I saw, they did not attend to Tyree. They attended to the cops first, giving them saline for their eyes and all that kind of stuff. So if that was indeed the case and they were on scene and did not render aid, then these guys need to be punished as well. We have to start demanding that when these kinds of things happen, everybody that's involved goes down. Bottom line. Everybody, no matter who they are, what their position is, or whatever, what their rank is, none of that should matter. If you do something like this, especially if we have video evidence, there is zero reason that justice and the whole legal process should not be super swift. So with that said, if you haven't watched the video, don't watch the video. There's no reason for it. Even if you haven't seen a real life jumping situation, I'm sure you've seen it in movies or on TV. It looked just like that, right? So there's really no reason for you to put yourself through that kind of trauma. Keep in mind though that when this happens, we need to activate. Right? And usually, I'm not gonna front, I'm all for the protest. I'm even for tearing some shit up every once in a while, because that seems to be the thing that gets the attention, right? But at this point, I think that we can play it a little bit different, as far as they're moving along pretty quickly. So in this particular situation, there definitely shouldn't be any rioting, anything. We should definitely stay protesting and stay visible and be vigilant, but there's no reason to tear things up. However, and this is not me advocating for anything, right? But I personally would not be mad if the same situation or a similar situation occurred and the police tried to revert to their old tactics of stretching it out and trying to just wait it out so that the public's attention is no longer on it. Yeah, maybe some things might need to be moved around, let's just say. All right. So with that said, just try to be safe, man. Like, there's really no advice that I know to give, right, that can prevent this kind of situation from happening. I think that when you're dealing with a cop, it really just depends on the individual and their energy, right? Because not every cop is going to act or react like these 5 jerk-offs did, but I think a very large percentage will kind of fall back if they run up on the situation and one of their fellow officers is acting like that. And we need to hold them more accountable for that. So just try to stay safe and deal more with resolution conflict. Like, this situation obviously wasn't Tyree having an issue with somebody else and then police were called, but I constantly am talking about black on black violence. This is black on black violence, blue on black violence, police brutality. Like, it's a whole bunch of different things, very nuanced, but very straightforward. And we need to figure out ways to interact with each other better, and that will allow us to form the kind of unity that we need so that we can actually go up against our actual opposition, which is the system of policing, right? So with that said, like the video. If you have not subscribed, please do that, and stay tuned for the next video. Also, I got some links in the description if anybody wants to show support, or if you want to get onto my Patreon. You get videos like this before I put them out on any other platforms, and also some written word and things like that. So I'll see y'all the next time, and hopefully I won't be talking about another black body in the street by police. Peace.